actually specifically stated that this woman, Ms. X, actually wants sexual favors and wants to return back sexual favors. So whosoever wants, actually her cell phone number is posted on that. She didn't want to report it to the police because she's a journalist. She did not want to go to the court. She was extremely wary of media because she was herself in the media. So she chose just to be the underground way. It took us almost about 3 weeks to convince Facebook, which is an entity which is located outside India, to convince about the illegalities and why the website account had to be closed and taken back. It finally was, but it took 3 weeks for this to happen. This is how cyberspace is beginning to impact us. Cyberspace and internet has made geography history. However, this borderless medium has started to see national governments coming up with their national boundaries. The problem arises, what do you do if things happen outside your country? You're all distinguished jurists here, and we realize that the laws of India are only applicable within the territorial boundaries of India. They may not apply outside India. In that case, how do you address this issue? I take you to the year 2000. Before the IT Act was passed, the Kargil war was just going on. At that time, a lot of Government of India websites were hacked. And a lot of these were hacked by Pakistani hackers. However, there's a difference of perception. What is considered as a hacker of an Indian website in India is considered as a nationalist in the other part of the world. And considering the fact that you did not have an extradition treaty, there was huge problems. So majority of these cases were not registered, barring one case pertaining to Central Board of Direct Taxes website, which got hacked. Take another example. You all use Gmail, which is so common, and it's giving you the maximum free thing. However, if somebody creates your email ID in your name and starts behaving as if it's you who's sending that, you can have a horrendous time. A lot of people in corporate world have discovered the wrong way how people have squatted upon their identities. And now comes a new phenomenon. This new phenomenon is called social media or Twitter. Twitter is such a wonderful application. All it requires is 140 characters at one point of time to broadcast to the world. 140 characters is not even one sentence or addressed two small sentences. That's all that you require to express yourself to broadcast to the world. And because Twitter names are available on a first come, first served basis, there are problems. A couple of years back, Gandhiji, the founder of the nation, whom you all remember, was displayed in an extremely distasteful manner by an Indian also in America who, dressed as Gandhiji, was dancing to jazz music. And that video was put up on YouTube. Despite so much of objection of Indians as saying that this is not in good taste and goes against the interests of India, the website did not put it down. The law then was, well, they said we are an American company, this is part of a freedom of expression, and hence, even if it may hurt your sensibilities, it's not necessarily an illegality in America. That continues. Similarly, in the year 2000, the I Love You virus had hit the world. The I Love You virus originated out of the Philippines, but at that point of time, there was no law in the Philippines which made making or transmission of viruses a crime. Consequently, despite the guy being identified, no action could be taken because at that time, when he created the virus and released it in the public domain, there was no law. From 2000, let's go fast forward to 2008. End November of 2008, we saw the horrendous Mumbai attacks. Mumbai attacks was also a classical case of terrorists using technology, using internet, voice over protocol. And I think all kudos or compliments need to be given to the Indian government that within a span of 30 days from the said Mumbai attacks, the Parliament had unanimously passed the new amendments to the IT Act. In fact, one of the major advances under the new IT Act amendments is that India has gone in a direction where no other nation has gone. India has gone and boldly made cyber terrorism comparative analysis of various cybercrimes across the world, cybercrime legislations across the world. And I find that in no other legislation has any country gone ahead and defined cyber terrorism in that broad, comprehensive manner. So broad and wide it's the drafting, for which all thanks need to go to Dr. Gulshan Rai. In fact, he was the brain way back in the 2000 law. He had drafted the 2000 Act, and I think, all compliments to the Indian government that they had the continuity of thought process to have him draft up the amendments. And clearly, these amendments are a huge feather in the cap of the Indian government. In a recent forum of the United Nations, countries complimented India for their extensive coverage of cyber terrorism as an offence punishable with life imprisonment. So huge is it that any activity which is done over any computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, which is aimed to create terror or fear in the minds of the people, or to actually deny them access to services to which they were entitled to, or they are entitled to, or which threatens to, in any case, impede or negatively impact the sovereignty of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with other nations, that has been made all brought within the ambit of cyber terrorism. However, the biggest challenges today still are, how do you enforce your law outside the country? Today, in a classical case, or which threatens to, in any case, impede or negatively impact the sovereignty of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with other nations, that has been made all brought within the ambit of cyber terrorism. However, the biggest challenges today still are, how do you enforce your law outside the country? Today, in a classical case, try to see your Gmail account being hacked, writing to Gmail is going to come up with a very, very planned game response, go through abuse, and the abuse is a myriad of a whale going nowhere. You'll ultimately land up getting no effective remedy. You want to have a legal notice to any of these American companies, and they have a standard response. I am an American company based in the United States of America, governed by US laws. Please get me a court order of competent jurisdiction from America, and I will comply. Now, that is the kind of a standard defense that's coming up. Now, Brazil had taken the other way around. They actually went ahead and arm twisted, and finally, the service provider had to enter into an agreement with the Brazilian government. And I think it's time that the Indian government also needs to ensure that these kind of agreements need to be on a multilateral basis with almost all major international service providers. However, somewhere down the line, some countries have taken a distinctly different route. A couple of years back, we had the Yahoo France case. Now, in France, if you publish anything pertaining to the World War, or the Hitler, or Semitism, then that is a crime. Now, some part of the Yahoo France website had some of this Nazi content pertaining to the Second World War. So, two NGOs filed a litigation in France against Yahoo France, saying, sir, these guys are still showing material pertaining to Nazism, which is an offense in France, please punish them. The French judge, despite hearing everything, ordered a fine of roughly about 100,000 francs per day on a continuing basis till such time they will not comply. Yahoo said we complied with almost anything. If there are only 3, 4, 5% things remaining, they are beyond my control, and I cannot really remove them. But the court was not listening. Yahoo then went to an American court, and Yahoo said, sir, I am an American company, governed by American law, and here is a French court who's ordering me to pay fine for something that's beyond my control. In a landmark judgment, the American court decided, sorry, while the order, whatever the French judge has said is good enough, maybe good enough as per French law, for the purposes of enforcing it in America, we'll have to still consider as to whether it complies with the principles of the US Constitution, the First Amendment. They held this order was not in compliance with the US Constitution, and hence actually gave a decree that the said order could not be implemented. So those are the various challenges that we do keep on finding that's happening as far as enforcement of cyber law is concerned. Of course, there is no one international treaty on cyber law across the world. Yes, on cybercrime, there is one international treaty, which is a success story. This is the Convention on Cybercrime of the Council of Europe. Now, this convention has been signed by more than 45 countries, not only of the European Union, but also America, Canada, Japan, and South Africa. In addition, a lot of other countries have already started examining it. So I think there is some movement going towards international cooperation as far as cybercrime is concerned, but clearly, as far as cyber law and its enforcement is concerned, it is still going to take some time. This client in Bombay never knew what was going to hit them. They are an online company. They were into online marketing of herbal medications and only doing selling Indian herbal medications through the internet. Somebody sitting in Copenhagen one fine day started a blog. The blog was targeted at this company in Bombay. And the blog said these guys are spamsters, they do spam, they do unlawful activities, they have done unethical practices, whatnot. The only purpose of the blog was to defame and pull down the company. Having left with no other option, and considering that Indian law would not apply, we had no other option but to go to the Delhi High Court. And in a landmark case judgment, the Delhi High Court actually restrained the blog and the blogger sitting in Copenhagen from publishing anything which was defamatory or derogatory of this country. And then the next biggest question was how to enforce such a judgment. We got it enforced through the concerned embassy. And fortunately, the blogger complied to the order, pulled down the defamatory content, and joined the litigation. The matter is still sub judice. So I think there are a lot of things that's happening. It's a mixed trial and error effort that's going to happen. No one day in the next 2-3 years am I going to expect that I'm going to push this button and there will be an international cyber law. There will not be. There are already national laws and that will continue to happen. However, enforcement is always a problem for almost any country barring the United States of America. USA has taken a unique approach towards enforcement of the law. Because internet was invented in the United States and grew primarily in the United States, a majority of these servers and computer systems on which internet and websites are run are located in America. So they assume jurisdiction on the ground that your website may be anywhere. It is being hosted on a computer that's based in America, hence we assume jurisdiction. And they're able to then implement a lot of their laws in this particular manner. But as we go along, we have challenges on data protection, we have challenges on privacy, and with more and more people going up on Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other social networking sites, it's only a question of time when people start realizing what harm they're doing onto themselves. Today, I realize that today in India, the Indian netizen is in a state of vomiting. The Indian user on the internet is vomiting all about himself. His personal life, his professional life, his social life, everything he's putting up on the internet without realizing what can be the consequences. Well, this girl found out the hard way. This girl 3 years back started an account at a social networking site. And she was in a live-in relationship. So she was blogging every day about the details of her living relationship with her boyfriend. Well, the relationship did not last forever, broke down. And then a couple of years later, she wanted to settle into matrimony. The engagement took place, and then the fiancé was just given the link of her earlier blog posting. He read the link, the marriage was called off. So we are beginning to see how internet will have impact upon human relationships. We are still right now not at that level of maturity. A lot of cybercrimes have been added, a lot of work already done by the new amendments. It really needs to be seen how these will be actually implemented. And I think towards that implementation, the Cyber Regulations Appellate Tribunal is playing a seminal, prominent role in ensuring not only awareness about these provisions, but also providing effective remedy to victims. All I can say is, it's a very interesting time to live in. Our fathers and parents did not live in such an interesting time. Maybe our children will also not live at such an interesting time. We in our lifetimes have already seen a huge amount of paradigm shifts, and these shifts will continue to happen over the next 5, 6, 10 years before things stabilize on the internet. All said and done, it's a wonderful space, but there are a lot of legal challenges, and we will have to constantly keep on updating our legal skills. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.